Well, that was mildly stressful. Hello. Apologies to anybody who noticed that full start to the stream there. Yeah, I pressed a button and instead of getting the options that you normally get before you go live, it just went live. With all of my last stream settings. So that was just mildly confusing. But hopefully that's all sorted now. Right. So in the last video we posted, we unboxed all that fish leather, which was fantastic and very interesting for us. I sat down and thought, well, I'll do what I intended to do with the 5 natural salmon fish skins. And that is basically what I planned to do. Let me just bring... I've just changed all the camera settings. Can't remember which button does what now. I'll talk about that in a moment. There we go. Right, so I made the Fishkin salmon wallet. It's the same pattern that we had, the same pattern for all the other wallets that I've done. But because of that, I made an allowance in that template for the thickness of the leather, so that when you put a card into the pocket, it's a snug fit. Well, it's a lot looser on this one, so that's something to remember for the future. The thickness of the leather does actually make a difference. But you can see it's actually I think it works just as well. It means that by putting a card in there, you're not going to put any stress on these seams, or anywhere near as much stress on these seams, which is, I think, a good thing. Now, one thing I noticed whilst I was making it, I tried to put my maker's mark on it, just out of curiosity, because I was pretty sure it's too thin. And I was right, it's far too thin to take a maker's mark. So I made a token. You can see there, it's just got my mark on it. But I put the fish skin on the back of it. So it's fish leather on the back. I'll include that with the wallet. I made that one a bit hurriedly, because I was like, okay, I can't make a mark in this. It's still got the RFID lining in it. One thing I did notice, there's like this lateral line of scales that all fish have. Once they reach maturity, there's this lateral line. You can see it quite evidently on the leather. But when the leather folds in half, there's a scale right there. Do you see that? That pokes up. And my wife suggested just gluing that back down. I'm like, well, no, because it's going to bend. And every time you bend, that's going to come up. So that's something to expect from this type of leather. You put a sharp bend in it like that, and you're going to have one of the scales poking up. Technically, there are no scales on this. They've all been descaled, but that's just like a part of the skin. I don't know. As expected, though, that took 3 skins to make. So I still have 2 left over. These are 2 of the smaller ones I had in the packet. So I want to move that out of the way there. There we go. So these are 2 of the smaller ones, and I was sitting there scratching my noggin, and I was thinking to myself, what can I do with this? And as you sometimes do, you go on to the internet and you start looking for inspiration. I had a look through some of my patterns and everything I had here in the shop, patterns I've made, and thought to myself, nothing really fits. I'd like to do something a bit more wallet related again. And I had a sudden thought, and that's the other thing. These are the offcuts from those 3 skins. And you can see it's quite a bit, and they're all very irregularly shaped. It's basically a mess. And I thought, well, I've got all these offcuts, and if I make another wallet, which I can't do out of these 2 skins because there just simply isn't enough, but they also weren't wide enough for long enough to get the larger sections of the wallet out of. So I thought, well, first of all, I need something to do with all these offcuts. Secondly, I've still got 2 skins left here. I really need to do something with those. So I went on the internet and I went to a website run by Dieselpunk. If anybody's been doing a little bit of leather work or been looking at a few things here and there, or even Etsy, because I believe he's got quite a big presence on Etsy, because that's where he's been for a little while now, selling his patterns. And largely speaking, he sells patterns. Sometimes he sells the acrylics. So he gets he cuts out the acrylic and the pattern, so you've got something solid instead of a piece of paper. You can buy those off of him. But the patterns that this guy makes are fantastic. They're all, I'd say largely all of them are pretty easy to make. He does include an idea of the level of skill required, but every single pattern has a YouTube video to go with it. Some of them, when they download, they actually have the instructions included in the PDF. And all you've got to do is print it out and then watch the video. So I was looking through his website and I found a few patterns. I thought, ooh. I had a quick word with him, sent him a Facebook message and just asked, because you can't reproduce these patterns. They're protected by copyright, and that's a really stupid thing to do. Someone spent a lot of time and a lot of development on these things. You need to respect them. And I was obviously aware of the copyright situation with it, but I just wanted to check with him and make sure that it's all right to sell something that is made using one of his patterns. And apparently, similar to Black Raven the other week, he does put a license for a certain number of items that can be produced onto his copyright. So I can make 10 of any item within a year and sell them. Well, I can make more than that. I just can't sell more than 10 of them. So, yeah, that's the deal for Diesel Punk. And the first thing that I found, I've actually put the wrong one on the top here, was a pattern for a keyring. Now, I don't have a picture of it, but here is the tiny dragon, as it's called. There's a keyring. Now, I'll leave this a little bit. You'll see how this is going to come up. I'm not going to show you exactly what it looks like. I've got a few other patterns as well, because these came as like bulk. There's several patterns. There's a couple of keyring pattern ones, but the one I want to do today is the tiny dragon. Mainly because I think all of these scales will look fantastic in a dragon. The other one is a mini card holder. It'll hold 3 cards. Yeah, 3 cards, I think. I remember. We'll be doing that one as well, because I don't think either of these are going to take very long to do. For my own purposes, I downloaded, what do you call this again? Pincushion. I was thinking about doing this, but I need a sponge to go inside it so the needles poke into it, because you can just see to the side here, this is my roll of needles. It works, it does work, but when you're working as such and you want somewhere to put the needle and for it to stay there, if you haven't got the magnets on your sewing horse or pony or clam or anything like that, sometimes you just need somewhere else to put them so you don't lose them. I have lost needles on the floor in here before and had to go around with a magnet to look for the damn things. So I'm thinking I might just make that for my own purposes. Yeah, maybe make a couple and give one to the wife and things like that, or the mother. So the idea here is you just print these out and then cut them out, and these are to scale. I won't subject you to sitting there watching me doing that. In true Blue Peter fashion, I have already done it. I'll find them here. So here we go. These are all the little bits for the dragon keyring, and that is the bits for the card wallet. Oh, I didn't get much sleep last night, I have to admit. I'm really struggling more than normal just to remember words. I think we'll get to this one in a minute. So, I put these 2 whole skins to one side. Apologies, bear with me a moment. I just want to check that because somebody sent a message to the shop. Right, okay. I will talk to them in a minute. Or hopefully one of my other family members who might see that. So, right. These are the bits that I've got. These are all the offcuts. I think I was having a little play with them earlier, and these two pieces will definitely do all of it. So as you can see, I've got a lot of other bits, and there'll still be some of these left over as well. But I've still got a lot of other bits left over. I'll be able to make more than one of these keyrings just from these offcuts quite easily. I was having a little play with the positioning of them. Now these two pieces are the jaws. And I thought, looking at them, I need to get them the same way round, hopefully. Because the leather fades from the top to the bottom in colour. It starts off darker and lighter. So if I position them like that, let me see. No, that's about what I can do there. Yeah, if I do that there, then they're the same way round, if you see what I mean. Now this is forming this piece here is for the face of the dragon. And I thought if I put that on there like that, there's some bigger scales at the back there and it fades down to smaller scales on the belly of the fish here. So I thought that would work quite well. And this bit's the jaw on the underside. And again, I think I'll have it fading in the same direction and having the slightly smaller scales at the bottom around the chin, so to speak. This part here is a tab just to allow you to put it into a key, make it into a key ring. And that's what these three holes here at the top are for. Now, one of the things that I jigged around with and changed earlier were the little camera settings. I've actually swapped the cameras around. We were using a webcam with a very wide angle view on it, facing me like this, and another camera pointing down. We've actually swapped them over. Because in the last stream, I kept putting my hands outside of the frame or behind like the inset in the corner here. I kept putting my hands underneath it. And when I watched the video back, because you can learn a lot from watching it back, it's not a vanity thing. I was just checking to see what changes I could make because it's not obvious whilst you're doing it. And I thought, you know what, I've got to do something about that. Kept putting my hands somewhere where it just couldn't be seen. I'm doing something for about 3 minutes and nobody can see what I'm doing. So we've gone with a wider angle camera pointing at the desk and you can see a heck of a lot more. Hopefully I won't keep putting my hands over here. Hopefully there's enough detail for you to be able to see what I am doing. If it needs to get closer to the deck, then I'll have to figure something out. But I think that camera, this one, has better quality to it as well. So, yeah, I also had trouble whilst I was working with this, seeing the holes that I was making, because this is something I noticed. Just the way the leather is, I was struggling to see when I made a hole with either my stitching irons or with an awl. And also the pen that I use to mark it all up is silver. So it kind of disappears. Doesn't mark it very well either. Just maybe that's the glaze that they've put on it, or I don't know. But this might be a little bit of a struggle. I don't know. We'll have to find out. I've also got some split rings here. We'll put these on the keyring when it's done. Right, so I'm going to start marking this up. I'll be using some of my lighter knives. Mainly this one, because it's really good for tight curves. A curved blade, as you can see there. Up to the camera a bit better. So you can see I've got a nice curved blade. It's really good for going around tight corners because it just works better. And this one's like they're both industrial knives, both wickedly razor sharp, although a quick strop. I'm having a strop. Can't do it sitting down. Sorry. That's the only other thing. This camera's got a much tighter field of view. I have to sit down now. If I stand up, I can't actually put it any higher. There we go. This one should be pretty sharp anyway. It's not a bad idea to have possibly done this before the stream started. Yeah, that's wickedly sharp now. That's just scary sharp now. Right, get on with things, shall we, Ben? Oh yeah, I did actually, because I went to all the trouble preparing this, I'm just going to show you anyway, but I prepared a little slideshow. There you go, there's some close-ups of the wallet. They're not amazing photos, I have to admit. It turns out cameras don't like being dropped. And I've dropped the Sony a couple of times now. And it tends to not want to focus very well now. There we go. Whoops, wrong way around. That one. Sorry about that. There you go. Just because I went to all the trouble of doing that, I thought, damn it, I'm going to show you. Right. Now, as I said, these patterns do come with instructional videos on YouTube. So you can have a quick look at it. I confess that I did have a quick look at this, the video for this one, mainly because there's lots of little bits. Well, there's quite a few parts to it. And I wanted to be sure that I was actually going to assemble it in the right order and make life easier on myself. The way that, I think his name's Tony, the guy that runs Diesel Punk. Did I call it Diesel Punk? Is that right? Yeah, Diesel Punk. The way that he does it is he'll just roughly cut these out and then put masking tape on top to stick it down to the leather, and then use a knife to cut around it through the masking tape and everything. And I thought, yeah, okay, that's a good idea, that works. But I'm not going to do that. My main reason for thinking I'm not going to do that is because at the end of the day, this is what you'll end up with. So you might as well just start off with that, because if you wanted to make more than one, you're going to have to, you end up with that being cut out like that anyway. So yeah, that'll print it off every time. And that's not something I was contemplating doing, so. Oh, I better mark the holes, haven't I? That was the other thing as well. I was looking for a hole punch small enough, because these holes are punched out. Again, I'm following the pattern faithfully, like I did with the Sporran, because that seemed to work quite well. It's not done the way that I'm used to sewing leather at all. I'm normally using the stitching irons and then open up a hole using the bradawl, or not bradawl, might not be a awl, using a diamond awl. I don't normally punch holes. So I was looking through all my hole punches, and the smallest one I've got is 2mm. And 2mm doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually a pretty big hole when you're thinking about just putting a needle through and then having the thread in the hole. There's a lot of spare space around the thread. Even if you put the thread through twice, it's still quite sloppy and loose. Didn't like that. I thought, well, I could just go around it all with my diamond awl. And then thought, well, I won't necessarily get the stitching in the right place, or just follow the pattern, Ben. Do what the instructions say. Follow the instructions for a change. Stop trying to muck about with somebody else's work. You obviously know what they're doing. Just going to put a dot on these. like that, so that I can roughly find the hole when I need to put the smallest hole punch I could find was the one on the do that. So right, well that's quite handy. The lights actually show it up. I can see it quite well because the light's reflecting off the silver. So let's see if I can cut these out, shall we? So this is the teeth here. I'm just going to come that way like that, teeth. Overlap the cut slightly so I get a nice point on it. Just come up slightly like that. I'll definitely have to find something better. I experimented with a black ballpoint pen and I'll get the opposite problem. I can see the silver on the darker part, but not on the lighter part, and the ballpoint pen was the opposite way round in black. It's out of the way for the moment. Follow that around there. Out from the corner like that. Give it a clean cut. Right. Where have I not quite joined up the lines? There. One thing I learned quite early on when I was doing this was you don't just, if you've got a little tag that you haven't quite joined up your lines where you cut, you don't just go, oh, never mind, like that, and pull it off. You end up with this kind of tufty, fluffy bit that you've then got to deal with. Just be careful with the knife. Just going to try and get rid of some of the silver on here. Silver pen. Ah, yeah, don't rub too hard, Ben. You've made dots on it, says it. That bit curved, or is that straight? Straight, isn't it? Still can't see the marks. Oh, someone's hammering on the window. Apologies. Right, back again. Apologies for that. This building used to be a house, and part of the shop is what used to be the garage. And it's still got an inspection pit in it. On the outside of the building, there is a garage door. We've covered it up and disguised it a bit. It's been bricked off on the inside, but there's an inspection pit in what is basically our office and kitchen. And it's just covered with planks of wood. And one of them rotted. A bit of dry rot went right through. And as a result, I walked in there the other day, maybe put a few pounds on over Christmas, stepped on it and nearly went through. So, nearly went through. And my dad, basically, we asked him if he could replace the wooden section. So that's who was hammering on the window. It's my dad. He's in the office at the moment, just putting a piece of wood back in the hole. Right. Oh yeah, that does curve around. So I'm still having a little bit of trouble seeing these silver marks, obviously on the silver leather. What are you looking for, Dad? Just over there.
I'm sure I have. No, I was back in.
Right, okay. There's no point explaining. I told him when I let him in that I'm live. There we go. Leather gets a little bit thicker and tougher towards the tail. Tail of the fish. As you can imagine.
Saw.
Saw?
Panel saw.
No.
And you got one for cutting wood.
I'm a leather worker. Why would I cut wood?
Oh, right. I thought I'd seen one there. Hacksaw? You got hacksaw?
Yeah, there's a hacksaw. It's a nice bit here. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Okay. He doesn't get it. Don't understand. One day I'll be like that. Right, let's see if I can get these holes in here. I'll get hold of it. It's leaving the bit behind. There we go. That's got it. Technically, if you're using these and you're having trouble cutting through, then you can just put a piece of leather behind it, or a piece of paper or something, just to give it the chance to punch right the way through the material. I don't normally have to bother with these. The fourth hole. I know there was 4. Have I? No, I haven't. I was having some trouble matching that up for a second there. I must be going mad. There we go. And there's 2 little holes in the nose here. That's not working. I need it. This is what I was doing earlier. As you can see, there's when I was cutting out the patterns and making the holes, I perforated a piece of paper a lot. Just count and make sure I get the right number of holes on the bottom of this jawline. So there should be 4 holes. Ink on there. Go. There should be 4 more along the top there. So that's one side of the jaw, that's the left side of the jaw done. That's all the holes punched in it. Just redoing the ink on these holes. I might have just rubbed it off a bit too much when I was working on it earlier. Paper. That might be easier. Trying to see. Getting old. Can't see anything. Turn it over. I can see these ones easier. This is on the dark bit of the leather. Go. That went a bit easier, didn't it? So these two jaw parts are probably the most complex parts. Let me just get the positioning right. There's some more offcuts there. There's a million bits of white dots everywhere, like confetti. I'll line this up here. This one's got a lot of stitch holes in it, probably because pretty much everything connects to this piece. Take that. Hopefully I can see that well enough. So that's the bottom part of the jaw. This is the underside of the keyring itself here. Yes, Dad. Oh joy. Can't get hold of this to rotate it. That was something else I noticed whilst I was doing whilst I was like reviewing my last stream. I stick my tongue out a lot, don't I? Sorry about that. I'm really trying not to sit there with my tongue hanging out the whole time whilst I'm concentrating. I got really self-conscious of that whilst I was watching that stream back. He says, sticking his tongue out. Stop it. There we go. Right. Before I handle it too much and rub all the little dots off, I'm going to do that straight away. It's not going through again. Oops. The other thing that seemed really weird on the stream when I was watching it back, when I was making the Sporon, remember I said I went on a kind of crash course to figure out how to set up audio and video and everything for these live streams. There was some settings for microphones that there's a compressor and an expander. And a compressor gets rid of loud noises, and an expander makes quiet noises louder. And it's mainly to do with your voice, so that if I shout or made a loud noise with my voice, somebody listening on headphones wouldn't get their eardrums blown out. But they'd still be able to hear me if I was talking softly. But it has an effect on loud noises, and in particular when I'm hitting something with a hammer. And I was watching it back and thinking, it's not really, the sound's gone odd. What is wrong with this? That does not sound at all like it should. And then I realised it was all the settings. I heard it obviously here in the shop perfectly fine, because I was the one present at the time. But on the recording, when I hit something like the rivets with the hammer, and it went instead of bang, it was quite strange to watch back. So if you were watching that and thinking, has he got a really soft hammer or something? No, that's what it was. It's the settings on the microphones. It stops really loud noises from deafening people. All right, enough tech talking. Let's get on with this. Very carefully going around the inside edges of these curves. Also, trying not to rub the dots off. Probably can't see it on my fingertips, can you? All going silver. So I'm touching the lines. Going this way. came out quite cleanly, that one, didn't it? Right, that's to one side. Oh, yeah, don't forget, Ben, you still got to do a little taggy doohickey bit. I just make life easier on myself. I'll do it on the dark bit so I can see it. Which one's this? Yeah. No, it's better to do it that way because that's the bit that's going to have a bit of strain on it if anybody tugs it slightly whilst it's on the keychain or something like that. I don't expect you'll want to put one of these key rings on a set of keys that's in a pocket or something, or going to go in a pocket. You just crush the hell out of it. It'll be all right in your handbag or man bag. I have a man bag, but then I made it myself because I needed a bag. I'll just realign that. In fact, actually, that's something else that I could make another one of. The only problem is there's a lot of sewing in it. When I made the first one, my one, it's only supposed to be a prototype, so I could see, how to make it, etc. And it took me 8 hours of solid sewing, and that's just the sewing. That wasn't any of the cutting out or anything like that of the leather. Just sewing and sewing and sewing solidly for 8 hours. And that was just the bag. That's not the strap. The strap took me 6 hours to sew. That's quite a long crossbody strap, you see. So, yeah, that took me 6 hours. Yeah, so you're looking at about 2.5 to 3 days solid work just to make that man bag that I made. So whether or not I actually do all of it on a live stream, because I don't think you really need to sit there for the equivalent of 2.5 days watching me sew. I imagine I'll do a lot of the cutting out and things like that live, and do some of the initial assembly, do it all live. It's either that or, yeah, you will be sitting there watching about 8.5, 9 hours of me just sewing the body of the bag. Right. There we go. So that's the bit that will go on the back of the bag. I've got bags on the brain now. Back of the keyring. Go. Is that done? And let's just quickly do this bit as well. This is a bit with lots of holes in it. So I've got to hold it at a certain angle to give me a chance to see the silver ink. The other design, I've got the little card wallet, card holder. It's only got one line of stitching on it to hold it all together. So I probably won't follow the pattern for that one. I'll just do it the way I normally sew. See how well that comes out. I'm going to have to come up with something of my own pattern, my own design that I can still use offcuts for. I've got 3 boxes of offcuts down there. So there's plenty of things I could make. But the trouble is, it's all little offcuts like this that are too big to throw away, but too small to do much else with. So I'm going to have to come up with something, because the limitation of only being able to sell 10 of these, I mean, these are a fantastic design. If they start to sell, that's brilliant. But I can only sell 10 this year. So less than 1 a month. And it's January. Right. Let's see if I can't get rid of some of this silver on here now. Now I've got rid of... Where'd that pen go? There it is. I said before, this pen just neutralises the silver ink. It disappears. Is that ink? No, that's an actual silver fish scale. Is see the problem? You can't tell the difference in the ink and the actual fish scale. I wonder if they do these in blue or something. I'll have to have a look. I should really do the drawing out on the back of the leather, but I wanted to make sure I was actually putting the design in the right place, putting the template in the right place. It doesn't normally matter if you're just using a brown piece of leather. It's the same whichever way you do it. It doesn't matter. When it comes to something like this with an actual feature on the front of it, where the leather itself is something that you want to utilise, then you need to see where you're putting your template, you know? Got to admit, the instructional video was about 4.5 minutes long. You see, that's the point that I'm making as well. The video on YouTube to watch this was really quick. It made it look very simple, and I've got to admit, it's not complicated. It's all there for you, as long as you've got the tools to do the cutting out and the holes, and can sew the thread on it. Then it's not a problem. It's all there. But it's taking time. How long have we been live for? Nearly an hour. Okay, it's been a little bit of chit chat. Mainly me talking to myself. And my dad. Let's not forget dear old dad, who turns up in the middle of the live stream. Right. Well, let's start assembling this. I'm going to get rid of the confetti. Put these doohickeys to one side. They can be used again. So the instruction video showed him starting with this piece and sewing it there together like that. I had a little look through my threads as well. I've got some white thread, which would probably work quite well, or I could just go with the steel grey kind of thread, which I put around it somewhere. But I got a couple of no, that's black brown or something. No, I don't. I thought I had a couple of leftover bits. Oh. Bad habit. Anybody who knows me will know coffee is never far away. A bit of shameless advertising. And I've just realised that's actually back to front on the screen, isn't it? There you go, Mr. Zametti. It's a real shame with the whole pandemic. Maker Central was a great deal of fun. I got bought a day ticket by my in-laws for one day at Maker Central. There it is. So it wasn't last year. Obviously, they had to cancel it. It was the year before that, and I was going to go again to the last one, 2020. But 2020 just kind of stopped everybody doing anything. I am going to do 2 needles and see if I can make this work, because this will hopefully be a really good way to make sure it stays put. So if I put those through there, and then put that through there and put that on there, and then pull these through like this. I think if I, yeah, he did have a way of doing it on the video, but it didn't really go into any kind of depth about the sequence with which to sew this on, because I've got 4 holes here, which means that there's just 1 stitch on either side of the dragon's nose to hold the front part of the jaw on. I appreciate you probably can't see very much of what's going on here, which is probably why it wasn't shown very clearly on the video. Right. Just going to cross the threads over. There we go. Bring the needles back down. Let's bring them back up, and then we've got like tell you what I'll do. Do that. There we are. So then there's 2 threads. Let's just gone through the nose holes twice on each side. I can't see that being able to hold very well like that, so I'm going to tie a knot on the back, just like I did with the sporran, and then melt it. Go. I don't know whether that just came through on the microphone or not. It wasn't thunder. It was probably a trolley full of chips going down to the restaurant to be fried. Brilliant. So it actually undid itself, that knot, because of the melting. What am I going to do now? apart from redoing that, just so that I can do the nose knot thing again, if there's anything else I can do. You know what? Today's live stream's going very well, isn't it? Yeah. It's just not enough there. My fingers are too big for the amount of thread that I've got here, and I can't actually physically tie a knot in it. There we go. That's tied a knot in it. You can tell that because I went silent, but I didn't stick my tongue out, did I? Right. There you go. Nice and neat again. Let's melt this. There we go. The challenges you face. I wonder if that off cut there is going to be enough to do the next few stitches. So what I have to do here is, this is the part, this is the cheek part. If I bring these together here, I should be able to sew them to the top part of the face. And same goes with here. So the shape here is forcing the cheek to form as you bend it round like this. It'll become more evident as I go along, he says, hopefully. Yeah, got hold of both the needles. I'm just going to back stitch. I think it's a better technique than tying a knot in it. Needle down the back there. Do you know what? I might as well just double stitch the full length of it. You either make your stitches invisible or as unobtrusive as possible, or you actually make them a feature. So let's just make these look like nose ridges or some sort of part of the dragon. Snip these off the back. Melting. There we go. And repeat on the other side. Let's get these two bits here. So if you can see what I'm doing here, it's starting to look like a dragon. And this is very fiddly. You can tell it's fiddly up on quiet. Sorry. But then you may not want me to yammer. Don't know. Alright, let's get. Ooh. I think this piece of thread is slightly shorter than the other one. I think I quite got the thread centrally. I didn't line it up properly when it was when I first started. That's okay. That's the last stitch. Let's see if I can very carefully melt these. Okay. Got them. So let's do the eyebrows. Just even this up, shall we? tongue. Sorry. Stitch back on the other way. This is very fiddly. Didn't do too bad a job of getting them holes to match up, actually. More thread. See, I think one of these bits will be long enough to sew that bit on with. And the entertaining bit's going to be doing this jaw, because that's the bit that's well, it's going to seal it all together, and I'm not going to be able to see my stitches. Unless I did it. No, I think it'll work. I don't actually have to be on the inside, do I? Think about it, Ben. Just even up with needles. It's really are quite heavily waxed, these threads, and the needles are sticking to my fingers. I'm now getting covered in wax. As awesome as it's going to look in these scales, with these scales from the Salmon, this is definitely something I think that would be easier with slightly thicker leather, from my point of view. Oh, so very fiddly. I've just gotten too used to using a stitching clam, or a pony, or a horse, or any other piece of livestock. Right. There we go. So looking a lot more like a dragon's face now, isn't it? So this is the last bit. This is the underside of the jaw. This goes on here. I should still be able to sew that bit on afterwards. There's not enough, there's too much blood in my caffeine stream. Oh. Right, 4 holes, 2 stitches. It uses a lot of thread, this little thing, doesn't it? Right. Let's do this. Let's see if I can make this a little bit easier on myself by not having to hold it the whole time. Sorry, 4 holes makes 3 stitches, not 2. I have to admit I didn't actually watch this bit of the video. I'm assuming that this bit is how it works. Thought when I got to this bit, I can see how that works. I could do that. Okay, so that bit goes to there, and it'll have a jaw. Yeah. Some of the ones I saw on his website, he did them with a darker leather, and then painted the teeth white, to a bit of dye or enamel or something like that to make them look pretty good. So, that these switch the cameras is a little bit better for you as a viewer. Put that on. Right. Go. Sort this dude's teeth out. That one. In there. Come on. There we go. Get a bit of light on it. Doesn't look so bad, does it? Rawr. A little finger puppet. Right, I'll just put the tag on the top there. I'll put one of the split rings on it before I do it. It's just easier. Should I not have a longer bit than that? Not really. It's just see if we can work with this. Now you can see why I glue things. Oh. Oh. Alright, next time I won't put the split ring on there. It's easier. No, it's not. Oh. Go around once more. Back stitch on it. No, don't fall off of the thread. Right, nice and tight. Through to the other side. I've just been tucking loose ends through a stitch on the back like that. I think that means they'll hold a bit longer. Or just, what do I mean a bit longer? It just holds better. Go. Do that. And he's done. I didn't actually try and curl those two horns at the top there on purpose. It's done naturally on its own accord. Come on. Focus. 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 There we go. So you can see that they've curled of their own accord. One dragon keyring. Even got little eyes. Ooh. Let's poke his teeth out a bit better on this side. There we go. That is a pretty cool little pattern, I think. And there's a plague doctor, kind of witch doctor one as well, which is you're describing. Do you remember seeing pictures in the school books of the plague doctor's kind of big mask that they put all the potpourri in the bottom of, and you know, all the herbs and stuff they're trying to breathe through to stop the plague. Yeah, there's like a little, say little, it's about the same size as that. I say it's little, it's nearly 2 inches long. It's quite large, really. But I've got to say, with the salmon leather, that looks pretty good. It's really nice, and I'm chuffed with how I've made it fade. I have to figure out how to make it fade from the horns to the nose. Dark grey down to the silver. Chuffed that worked, actually. Really chuffed. Right. Well, that entire stream so far has taken an hour and a half, hasn't it? Let's have a quick look at this little mini card wallet I've got here as well. So I won't be using the offcuts for this. I'll be generating more offcuts. One of these days, I will remember when I go live, turn my phone on silent. Apologies for that, it's really professional. This has been a real professional stream so far, hasn't it? I've had my father walking around looking for a saw and a hammer. Got to put my phone on silent. Right. Now let's bring that back up again. So there's the two, let's put the dragon out of the way. There's the two salmon skins I've got left over. And that's the pattern. Now, I had already spotted this. Obviously, there's no way I'm going to get that out of there. These holes along here are the stitch line. The way this goes together, I believe, if I do it with the piece of paper first, is you fold it along here, and then fold that piece over there like that, and then that piece folds around like that. Not bad, is it? This is just done roughly. So it's one piece of leather folded 3 times to make 3, 1, 2, 3 card slots. Which is a really neat idea. I like it. But I'm never going to get it out of that salmon leather. So I'm going to cut along that fold line. The reason I'm doing that is because these stitches that would come all the way along here, well, I can sew the 2 pieces together, can't I? I could have a like this. Okay. The deed is done. Should we try working on the back of the leather? Hopefully I can see the pen. Let's see where we can get this. Can I go? Yeah, I can go right the way down to that part of the fish there. How's that look on the outside? It's pretty reasonable, isn't it? See that there. And if I do that, I can use one skin to make one wallet, one card wallet. That's not a bad idea. Technically, don't even need 2 pieces of paper, do I? Look, it's identical. Yeah, then I've got to make sure I sew it all together the right way as well. Oh yeah, this is a lot easier to see. It's out. As I said, I'm not going to follow the holes on this. I'm going to use my stitching iron. Okay. So how is that going to come out on the other side? Well, they're all going to have the same. It's going to have the same fade from top to bottom, isn't it? So let's do that. What if I did that? How is that going to look? Let's find out. Okay. Don't know if the camera is going to show you that very well, but I've actually matched it right up to the edge of the other one to use as much leather as possible. All right. Let's use this because it's a little bit easier. It's not quite so big. So I've still got an entire fish leather left over. Choose. Found this one worked really well. No effort. It's scary how sharp that one is. Okay. put that on safely over there. Get it out of the way. There's a nice, neat little curve around here. See if any of these match up. It's a nice little tool. There's lots of little tools like this that you can get, but this is just cut out of some stainless steel. You can buy them on various selling sites. Lots of nice, neat curves for you to use. So if this has the same circumference as that, which is pretty close, I'll just follow that around. It's nice and smooth, doesn't it? I doubt, actually, that anything's going to match this one. And I should not have doubted. It does actually match that one quite well, but it's quite deep, so I'm just going to have to nick it in a moment. Finish it off. I think I'll right way through. There we go. Side. Let's put it across here. Got some reasonable sized pieces left over there. These not so much. Oh. You can see why I keep my fingers out of the way of that one. That now. There it is. One thing, I'm really trying hard not to touch the metal with the sharp part of the blade, because that would just mess it up. Okay, went through that one a bit better. Right, so if I had cut these out properly, if I had done this properly, it would be like that, wouldn't it? And that bit would fold around there. Okay, so hopefully I haven't messed this up by anything. Yeah, so I'm going to have the opposing fade of the colour on either side there. That's not a problem. Have I? It would be like that, wouldn't it? So if I do that, not do it that way round. I might have messed this up. No, I haven't. Oh, I just thought it was so difficult. Oh, it's a simple little thing to do, Ben. Oh no, I have messed this up. Yeah, because that isn't going to work like that. Because to get that curved edge there, I need that way round. And this is why you follow the pattern. You don't mess with other people's work. They've already worked all of this out. So, right, okay. Interesting. So if I can get my head around it, you see, I really should have had more sleep before I go live, shouldn't I? Problems with dogs and children waking us up and things like that in the middle of the night. So how did I get so long then? Because you didn't follow the instructions, Ben. What you should really do, I should have just done it like that. See, and I cut this out. I did invert one of them, didn't I? So that one matches that one. That one's the wrong way around, isn't it? It's like that. So I should have been that way up. So if I've got one like that, let's see if I can figure this out. I might be able to make 2 of these wallets. So let's invert everything like this. Do that. And that's now all upside down. So that bit matches that bit. So in order for this to work, I need one bit like that. That should make this this bit, yeah. And then technically, you need to cut out the opposing one of those the wrong way up. Let's at least try and make one correctly. So if I then cut that piece out that way round, looks like that, with that. So that would be the scale side there, bring that up like that. Scales there, scales there. Let's do that. This is how we're going to work it out then. I'll make the other one later. Where'd the pen go? Now I see why everybody doesn't do this live. And they go back and edit their videos. This has been a fantastic stream, hasn't it? All right. And to work a little bit harder to get this stuff to mark this leather. I really do need to use something better than the silver pen for this. It works fantastically on every other leather I've got apart from this fish leather. You just got no way of knowing before we start working on it. Right, let's bring all the tools back in. This is where I find out I've still got it all wrong. Right, put that to one side. That's enough cut piece. Side, let's do what we did before with these. Yeah. Right. I can already see it's worked. There we go. So that is the right way round now. I'll cut another piece out of that bit to oppose this piece later. We'll just get this one done, shall we? Because this stream's starting to go on for, it's coming up for 2 hours now. So I think that's enough really, isn't it? All right. So dobs of glue, I think, are in order here. It's getting tired. I'm getting tired. It's getting late. I can't bugger to try and hold it all together. Let's just get a nice little bead of glue down there. See roughly where I'm going to stop with this. And I'm just going to put these together cold without heating it up. One thing, I just want to make sure it all lines up properly. I might have to trim a little bit off along the bottom here, it isn't quite straight. But that's down to me. That technically there shouldn't be a cut there anyway, so I'd followed the pattern like I should have done. Wouldn't have made a mistake. Let's see, does this all line up nicely? Bead of glue along there. come right to the end. It doesn't quite come right to the end, does it? Maybe it does. Okay. This bit on here. Let's do it this way this time. Get rid of the glue from the cutting mat before I put a piece of leather on it I don't want covered in glue. Go. And before I put my stitch line on there, I'm just going to straighten up this edge slightly. I'm going to trim a little bit off, just to give it a nice neat edge. Go. It's looking pretty good. Right, wing dividers. Have a look at those. There they are. And how much access has he allowed for a stitching seam? Quite a bit, actually. Should be able to get away with what's that's set to something like 3.5 mil. Still plenty of room. Yeah. Using the wing dividers to make quite a solid mark on there, because when I was making the wallet, I just went around like I normally did. I just did one little mark, didn't make anything too deep, which is what I would normally do with other leathers, because you don't want it to be evident that you've put a mark in the leather to do that. It's just something to follow. And then couldn't see it at all for love nor money. I was squinting, had to bring these studio lights in, even though I wasn't live. I brought the lights in and just had them all around the work so I could see what I was doing. Right. So then. Yeah, I see. So that's okay. I'll get that as close to the edge as I can there, because then that should overlap the piece on the other side. Right. It might look like just a simple block of wood, but it's extremely useful. Now, you can either do what I did and go to Mr. Armitage's website, Armitage Leather, and buy yourself one of these. He sells them with multiple different kinds of things written on the front of them. But it's armitagelether.com. And it's a little block of wood that allows you that you can put it right next to your stitching iron or your pricking irons, and use it to hold the leather down as you pull the iron out. It means that you're less likely to bend the teeth of your stitching iron like I did. This is one of the first stitching irons I ever bought. And as you can see, potentially that tooth there, where are we? It's only get it focus. Focus, 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 focus. Get something bigger to look at. There we go. You can just see, I put my hand back there, it might be easier to see. That tooth there is bent. And before I learnt this trick, that's what happened to my stitching iron. And I leave it there as a cautionary tale. Also, remember I mentioned that I always use poly balls and things like that, just rather than steel. You can see the stripe of silver around the top there. That's where I had to grind off the burr because I was using a hammer, a metal hammer, to knock that one in. So yeah, cautionary tales, lessons learned. Not at all unlike this particular stream today. Okay, so that last stitch has overlapped on that side as well, just about. Don't need that anymore. Silver thread. How much do I think I'll use out back line. Needles. Move a few things out of the way. You can see why my work area always just gets so messy, can't you? Let's have a little shuffle around and tidy up a bit. I don't think that's all anymore, do I? I'll put that away up there. And that's done with for today. Move the snips. Move all the sharp knives out of the way. I'll bring this bit in. I think I shall this camera for this bit because you're just not going to be able to see it on the other camera. Let's put that on there. Grip these needles properly. Ah, a viewer. Hello. I have no idea who that is though. Right. I'll probably be moving my head around a little bit, so I'll try and keep it in frame. Not that you really need to see my head. I know I went right the way through with the pricking iron. Not really supposed to do that. It does help, but the awl is just going to help to open up the hole enough to get the needle and thread through, because it all comes up quite thick. Okay. I'm just going to use the proper safety saddle stitch all the way along this. if the person watching says hello, I'll say hello back. I'll now have two. Ah, it's actually the wife. Hi. Yeah, you say it's looking good, but it's been a fantastic stream so far. I don't know how many people may have, but just go back and watch it all. But yeah, been real professional. I messed up the start, pressed the button, and suddenly everything started to live stream, but with the previous title and description on it. I was like, oh, how do I stop this? And then got to mute devices in the shop, so we've had messages come in, Facebook and stuff like that, dinging away in the background. So that was really good. And then my father turned up and started walking around in the back of the frame looking for a saw. Despite, I don't think he did. Yeah, it's been fun. And then completely messed up the cutting out of this wallet. So I'm tired. This is the last few stitches, and I'll have this card wallet made. Well, that's not a bad little make, that is it? When you cut it right to start with, you can make it quite quickly, it seems. There's only one small line of stitching on it. I'll have two of those then. I'll do the other one tomorrow or something. Just back stitches on this to tidy up. Stitches through to the same side. Like that. Right, let's look at this. Oh. I think I did that up a bit tight. What's it that? Should be a hammer around here somewhere. These stitches are tapped to flatten them out. So, and there we have the card wallet. You can just see the card poking out the corner there, and it's got another pocket on the inside, that, and a third one there. You can just see the card poking out the corner there as well. So, real fast, real simple. I could easily, I guess, make that with a thicker leather as well. That would, nothing too thick, maybe, I'd say that this leather is probably about 1/2 mil thick, this salmon leather. We could do that with a 1 mil to at the most 1.5 mil. Because you've got to remember, when you go around a bend, when you go around a fold like this, then you start to lose distance. Obviously, if I do the pattern properly, in the way that it's intended, instead of cutting it in half to make sure it fitted onto the piece of leather I wanted to use, that would start to cause problems. The pattern does actually say to use, I think, 1.5 to 1.8 mil thick leather, which is quite precise when you think about it. There we go. Okay, I'm chuffed with that little make. That's quite a quick one, that. So here's the dragon with it as well. Don't know if the wife saw that one at all. I have a tendency to bring these home and show them at home as well, so yeah. You've got like sorry. Well, thank you very much to Diesel Punk for these patterns. I will try and remember to put a link in the description. I didn't put one in before I started the stream because I didn't think about that, because obviously I'm having a really good day today. I will put a link in the description in a minute then once I stop the stream. Go and check out his website if you're interested in getting any of his patterns. As I say, there are thousands, it seems, on there. I saw about 19 pages of patterns. It's basically what he's been doing for the last 5 years, it seems. He's got everything from hats to cosplay items to little key rings and card wallets like that, dog collars. I saw entire backpacks. He's got a few items that are in the sale at the moment as well. Yeah, I would recommend it if you wanted to just get some inspiration or get a cheap pattern, something you can make for yourself. Obviously, if you're going to follow his copyright rules, don't replicate his stuff and just sell it as your own. Be upfront about it. Yeah, dragon looks good, doesn't it? Yeah. His rules, 10 a year of one item. That's pretty fair, considering the price of his patterns. I don't think I found very many patterns that were over £10 to buy. Some of the larger ones probably are close to that. So if you were to sell any, you're going to get your money back on the pattern on the first one. Let's put it that way. And yeah, have fun with it. Enjoy it. If anybody's got any questions or would like to see me doing something in particular, then, you know, maybe doing things right for a change. Maybe not have people randomly walking around in the background. That would be a good start, I reckon. Maybe even remember to mute my phone, that kind of thing. Yeah, I'll see you on the next one. I have no idea, as per usual, what I'm going to do. I'll just have a look and see what I can do and come online and just do something. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Right, well, take care, have fun, and stay safe. Yeah,